In Aztec communities, the people had to behave correctly. The children were taught to behave very well in their school. How to behave was written down. There was also a law. If you broke the law, you were killed. Here are some of the correct behavior laws. Do not mock the old. Do not mock the sick. Do not mock anyone who has sinned. Do not interrupt someone who is talking. If you are asked something, reply soberly without affection or prejudice to others. Do not make wry faces. Whenever you walk with peaceful air. Only nobles can carry fans with them, and do not complain. In Aztec civilizations, the rich had bigger houses than the poor or common people. The rich people had houses made of sun-dried brick. All of the rich people's houses in Aztec civilizations were whitewashed and shiny. Each noble home had a separate room for steam bathing. Bathing was an important part of the daily life and of religion. Bathing was believed to not only clean the body, but the soul as well. The poor people, like farmers, had huts as homes with straw roofs. Some roofs were flat pole roofs. They also had baskets to hold personal belongings. They also had blankets and potteries for cooking. The size of a house varied by the size of the person's wealth and the area they had to build the house on. The upper-class people had different clothing than the poor. The upper-class people's clothing was decorated with feathers and beautiful embroidery.
This is the upper-class people, and then that's the poor.
They also carried fans made of feathers. The poor were also known as common people. The common people were not allowed to wear feathers, for it was against the ancient Aztec law for commoners to wear feathers. It also was against the law for common people to carry fans. If the commoners broke these laws, they were killed. Aztec jewelry is beautiful. The craftsmen who make the jewelry are the very opposite of amateurs. They dedicated their whole lives to making jewelry. Jewelry was usually worn by the upper-class people. Like emperors, they usually just wore necklaces and earrings. Jewelry looks much different today than it did back in 1280.
They had three main weapons. They were the macuna something, slings and spears and lances. The macua was a plank of wood with a special handle. It had jagged pieces of rock on the plank that can tear flesh. The sling is its name. It can throw a rock or clay ball with bone-breaking force. Even if you were wearing a steel helmet, it can kill you. The spear or lance was very common to the Aztecs. They could throw at close range, and they were 7 feet long. They played a type of ball game. It was a type of basketball, and the way can see away. Yeah, had hoops and the other team trying to keep you from scoring, except that you don't just get points for scoring. Really, you don't score at all that much. It was all because it was very hard to score.
There are many different types of gods in the Aztec world. Each god belongs to a different group. Some of the groups are cultural, nature, creation, fertility, and trade. Some of the gods that belong to the nature group are Tonatiuh, the sun god, Metzli, the moon god, Tlachtli, earth lord, which means goddess of the earth, Chalchuachicui, god of springs, and Sensun, Hutsahaha, god of the gods of stars.
They had temples where they did a lot of religious stuff. It was they just had the steps going up the terraces.
This is a floating garden. They grew crops, flowers,
Anything that you would grow in a garden.
down there.
And the main reason for the floating gardens were because they lived on a lake and they ran out of land. So they eventually just made floating gardens.
Does anybody have any questions?
How did they get the floating gardens to stay in one place?
They had like the
They
anchor at the
floated
bottom,
them.
and then they like
As
were
soon
like
as the
stuck to the
roots
bottom
would
of
soon
that.
anchor themselves as they grew.
Yeah.
Were the ladders on there to climb up?
Yeah.
Yeah, climb up to the floating garden.
So were they underwater when they climbed up?
Because when they were in a boat, they were elevated somewhat, so they had to.
Oh, yeah, I never thought of that.
Hey guys, when you made the floating gardens, what did you mean? Like, I know that they suck into water with their roots, but when you first planted them, how can they grow?
They carry dirt with they take big boats of dirt out there and then plant it all, and then the roots would go to the ground.
And anchor it down.
What was the main crop they grew in the floating gardens?
Maize, corn.
Is that your farm? Or what crops do you have in there right now?
Well, this is all like corn. This is
Growing
carrots.
now.
Yeah, and this is like a full grown corn. This is like radishes kind of. And then,
Carrot
top chicken.
Weren't the roots, when the plants die before they hit the soil? Because I've seen trees that die in lakes because it had too much water.
Because the water was too much and there wasn't enough dirt for it to eventually, all the dirt was washed out from under it and it couldn't,
But
didn't
here
have
with
the
floating-
nutrients that it
yeah.
had.
Here with the floating gardens, they're kind of like the roots are surrounded with dirt.
Soil.
And it's also kind of surprising that the Aztecs, they had chocolate, which that's kind of weird because it was way back then. And now,
Yeah.
yep.
That was just something you could buy at Japanese.